What is up guys, in this video I'm gonna show you how to make punchy kick drums. So I'm gonna share some of the tips and tricks that I use all the time for getting really punchy and nice kick drums. And don't miss out on the tips at the end of the video. I promise you that they are definitely gonna change the way your kick drum sounds. So enough talking, let's jump straight into the video. Okay, so my tip for creating really awesome and punchy kick drums is to use a kick drum generator. I have the one called Kick by Nicky Romero. I know that there is a new one called Kick 2, but we can get the same sounds by just using the old one. Generally, what we use with a kick drum generator is that we can actually sculpt the way that the kick drum sounds by sculpting the pitch, the waveform with the amplitude here, also how much of the click are being heard. And we also have some extra settings for adding more sub, adding some drive distortion. There's also this section down here where you can add really like harsh distortion, which is great for hardstyle, but we're not going to do that today. So if we just look at it just broadly, I tend to start by finding the pitch of the kick drum. So we have a really standard drum pattern like this. Just straight 4 to the floor. Awesome. So what I generally do is that I pick either a fundamental note of G or F, sometimes A, because that's like where I think the kick is most subby and punchy in my opinion. So I think we will go for a F kick drum. So basically what we do is that we tune the pitch of the kick drum to F. So just selecting all of these bands here and have them put at F, so all these points. Then we have this length knob. So if we slide a little bit, we can make it like really short. So this slider is really important. If you have a bass line that is really like long and sustained, my suggestion is that you use a relatively short kick drum. So the waveform of the kick drum is really short. If you instead have like a lot of space, like not a really busy bass line, you can have longer kick drums, a longer waveform, a longer tail, or what you call it. So you have to choose between the two, because you can go with like a long bass note and a long kick drum, but it can make the mixing process a little bit difficult. So that's the tip. So let's just listen. So I think I will go for like a short kick drum. So put it around like 700 here. Then we go to the amplitude. So for the amplitude, you can do something really awesome. If you want like a really punchy and clicky kick drum, you can actually pull this waveform a little bit more to the left. So I like to have it here and then put up the amplitude. And as you can hear now, we're going to get a little bit of like distortion. And then I think like the tail, I want like something like this. This is great. Basically, you should experiment with this waveform of the kick drum. So having like a longer one, you can hear like there's more of the tail. So it's a really great way to sculpt the kick drum according to where it should fit in the track. The next thing is the click, and you have a section here called click. And basically what I like to do is to find a click that is not too like loud and too like harsh in the highs. And what I tend to do is actually pitch it down. So let's just listen. Like having a high pitched click can be good for some genres. I tend to have like it more subtle but still punchy, but I don't want like too much of the highs. So I think something around here. Okay, so the next two knobs that I want to mess around with in this plugin is the sub volume and the drive. I don't want it to be like too overdriven here, because I want to do that in the processing later. So I'm just gonna have it here. And of course, because I want it to be really subby, the sub volume is gonna be all the way up. Okay, nice. So the key to getting punchy kick drums is, in my opinion, to add a transient shaper. I like to use the Transient Master from Native Instruments, but FL Studio has a native one. I think it's called Transient Processor or something, and I think it does the job as well. Basically what we want to do is we want to increase the attack, so the click of the kick drum, and sometimes it generates some interesting results if you reduce the sustain a little bit. So I think something around here, just to get a little bit more of punch to the kick drum. Then the next thing I want to add is a soft limiter. This one is from Apogee. I think it's for free. It was when I downloaded it. So basically what we want to do is we want to set like a threshold limit to, so the peaks of the kick drum are not going above -1 dB. And what it can do, if you're putting too much volume in the input level, it can add some distortion. And sometimes these distortions are gonna sound so much nice to the kick drum. So it gets like a more rough kick drum sound. So let's just try to play around with it. So reducing this, you can hear distortion is being applied to the kick drum. So I think around here actually is a really, really nice spot. We can also try to put in some drive. It's a little bit too much. So I think around here. Nice. Okay, so our soft limiter is gonna be like across the limiter, so our transients are not gonna go above -2 dB we were setting it to. So the next thing I want to do is actually sculpting the sound a little bit more. So the next thing I'm gonna do is to add some EQ and also a little bit more of exciting, like distortion, saturation. So for the EQ, I like to reduce the highs a little bit. And then in this, like from 1K to 2K area, I want to just make a broad boost. Just to make that click sound pop out. So right here. And then sometimes you might have a little bit of too much going on in the 300 to 400 area. And sometimes it can like get better mixing results if you just reduce it a little bit. And actually I want to put this into dynamic mode, so it's just doing it according to the kick drum. Nice. And then the next thing is to add some excitement, but it's not going to be on the low end. I want that roundness, warm low end, but I want to excite the mid-range and the high end of the kick drum. So I'm going to do a frequency split here, and then I'm just going to apply excitement at the top end of the kick drum. And what I like to do when I'm applying exciting and distortion units, like I want to put it on wet, 100% wet, and then pull up all like the amount and then dial it back. Because of course right now it's way too much. Awesome. And actually we can go back to the EQ. Perhaps we can actually do a little bit of a boost at the low end. And again, use some good speakers or headphones. Try to crank it up until you hear unwanted distortion. So this one is too much. Just reduce it. I think around here. So again, I'm no mixing engineer. I'm just trying out stuff to what sounds nice to me. And yeah, I think you should do that as well. Okay, the next one is an optional one. So if you're doing like lo-fi house or other like lo-fi genres, perhaps you want to like reduce the bitrate of the kick drum to have like a more lo-fi vibe. And you can do that by applying a bit crusher. This one from Kilohertz is free, and you can basically just reduce the sample rate, and then you introduce some of these like digital artifacts to your track. So if we reduce it further, you start to hear that noise. And we can actually remove a little bit of it by increasing this knob here. Like it's just a subtle effect, but it adds like, to me, some warmth and some really awesome character to the kick drum. Okay, so let's listen to this kick drum together with some drums to hear like the difference. So I'm gonna A-B the effects. So you're gonna hear the kick drum with the effects, the processing, and then without the effects. So you can hear like the difference that it adds. All of these drum loops are from my latest drum sample called Lo-Fi Garage Drums, and you can get it on my web shop. The link is in the description. Okay, so this is the loop with all of the processing. Okay, and then without any effects on the kick drum. Okay, and with effects again. We're just going to solo the kick drum so you can hear the difference. Without effects. With again. To me, this just adds a ton of vibe and character. I love it. Okay guys, so that's it for this video. I hope you learned a thing or two about making punchy kick drums. These were just some of my tips and tricks to add punch to my kick drums, and I just wanted to share them with you. So hopefully they will help you to make more punchy house tracks. And if you liked the video, it means so much to me if you will smash that like button or even subscribe to the channel. And if you need some sound inspiration, I have some sample packs and preset packs on my web shop. The link is in the description down below. So I just hope that you're gonna have an awesome day, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Take care, peace.